right, let's hit the field.
Rubber game matchup in the Bronx between the Yankees and the Giants. We actually had a little bit of sunshine today, some decent weather, and a matchup between Carlos Rodon and Logan Webb. Yankees trying to take 2 out of 3. Could they get it done? My recap, your reactions coming up next. This is Pinstripe Territory.
Just wanted to talk, that's all.
Carlos Rodon makes me want to puke. Another tough day for Mr. Meatball. Carlos Rodon could not get out Jung-Hoo Lee, who took him deep twice and who is not a home run hitter. But he got Carlos Rodon for a big 3-run home run in the 6th inning. Ruined what was a pretty good start to the game. You know, we had some nice early at-bats from our younger guys. J.C. Escarra with a big double. Dominguez had a booming double. Ben Rice had another hit. Paul Goldschmidt had a hit. Judge, big double in the 1st inning. Things were looking good. But unfortunately, pitching will always dictate whether you win or lose. And the pitching today just didn't get it done. And I'm so tired of hearing about, oh, he only wants 1 or 2 pitches back. It was only one or two pitches. No sound. Really? Somebody says no sound. Maybe it's your volume. I hate it when someone posts like a technical thing in the chat and it screws me up. Anyway, so tough day for Carlos Rodon. Bill says never mind. Well, thanks a lot, Bill. Thanks a lot. You ruined it for me here. You ruined my little rant session. We should have a rant session just dedicated to Bill. But, yeah, we'll recap the game. We'll talk about the tough day for Carlos Rodon, serving up those meatballs. We're going to compare the Statcast numbers between Ben Rice and last year's John Carlos Stanton. And then we're going to preview the Kansas City Royals. But the Yankees lose 2 out of 3 to the San Francisco Giants. Off to a good start, but couldn't finish it off.
All right, let's go. Let's get it going.
All right, so Yankees did jump out front early. Judge smoked 116.8 off the bat, hit the center field wall. Launch angle was not high enough. If the launch angle was higher, that ball would have been on the restaurant. That's baseball, Susan. Bloop single by Goldschmidt. I thought that was a good piece of hitting. And then another run in the 2nd inning, courtesy of our young hitters. Opposite field double by Jason Dominguez. He's got 4 doubles on the year. He was 1 for 3 today. And then J.C. Escarra ripped a line drive double into the corner. I really like Escarra's swing. I haven't figured out who he reminds me of yet, but it's somebody. He's got such a distinctive follow-through, that open stance. The closest thing I could get was Larry Walker, but that's not quite right because Walker a lot of times would finish with 2 hands. But I'm going to put my finger on it, and I'll find it. But he reminds me of somebody. And when I do find it, we'll break down the comparison maybe. Ben Rice followed up with an RBI single. He continues to play well. He was just 1 for 5 today, but he's still got an OPS over 1,000. And then Jung-Hoo Lee put the Giants on the board in the 4th inning with his 2nd home run of the series and 2nd home run against the Yankees. 2nd home run of the season, and both of them in this series against the Yankees. And then he gave him the lead with a 3-run shot later in the game. So I remember when he was a free agent, there was a lot of talk about whether or not he would be a fit for the Yankees, whether or not his swing would play to Major League Baseball, whether or not he would be a fit for Yankee Stadium. Doesn't have a lot of power, we said. Well, 3 home runs in this series. Seems made for the short porch. And so far on the season, hitting .352 with a 1.130. Now, OPS. I like the outfield we ended up with. Judge, Bellinger, and Dominguez. But, man, that guy can hit. Just poor pitch selection and execution from Rodon. Again, looking much more like the 2023 version of Rodon than the 2024 version that was pretty good. Giants got another one on a ball that got by Goldschmidt, charged as an error.
Stellar defense.
But usually he makes that play. Usually he gets in front of it. Ended up being a big play. Jazz Chisholm went deep. That would have been a game-tying home run. Finally broke out of an 0 for 24 slump. but still hitting just 169 on the season. I do feel like he's a better hitter than that, so I have to imagine there's a hot streak coming, and he'll maybe warm up with the weather. But good to see him put win in the seats today. But the Yankees came up short. Tim Hill, good in the 8th, good in the 9th. But the Yankees could not scratch a run across. Some hard-hit balls late in the game that died out there in center field. And they fall to 8-7 on the season. Now, the standings will show that 8-7, we're still in a tie for first place. And still, on pace for roughly 90 wins, which is about what we'd imagine this team will be. And the Yankees will be taking on the Royals, who won today, it looks like. When I preview them later, it'll have the record prior to today's game, because that's when I had to build out the graphic. But they will take on the Royals this week for 3, and we don't have Giancarlo to save us. He is going to be out. D's channel with the Super Chat says, we have tough schedules for the next month or so. I'm scared to look at the standings a month from now. Hey, look, the only way to be on top of the standings is to win those games. You got to beat the tough teams. Kansas City, good ball club. Bobby Witt Jr., we're not facing him worn out like we were in the playoffs. He's heating up. Then we got Tampa Bay, but that's a launching pad down there at George M. Steinbrenner Field, and the Yankees are used to playing there. So hopefully they'll hit some home runs. It'll be some exciting baseball. And then they play Cleveland on the road, and Cleveland is very good. They're 8-7 so far, still have a good bullpen. And then they have a day off on the 24th, and then they face Toronto back at home for 3, just a quick 3-game homestand before they go back to Baltimore, and then they take on Tampa Bay at home and San Diego at home to begin May. And then things get a little bit easier. You got the Athletics and the Mariners, but that's a West Coast trip. I hate West Coast trips. I hate doing shows at 1 a.m. And then the series we're all looking forward to, Mets at home, 3-game set, the return of Juan Soto to Yankee Stadium. Let's talk about Mr. Meatball, who I believe I was talking about it when someone said that I didn't have sound. But 100 pitches today, 62 strikes. So he gave us, a decent effort. 5 2/3, 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. He looked good. He took a no-hitter into the 4th inning before Lee broke it up with the home run. And then once again, he couldn't get through the 6th inning. Put a couple of runners on. And this was something I was going to talk about before I was so rudely distracted with fake news about my sound, is that the broadcast was saying that, he only regretted a couple of pitches. He only regrets 2 pitches. Well, what about the 3 walks? What about the walk in front of the home run? You can't disregard earned runs. He's allowed the most home runs in the major leagues over the past 3 years. And a lot of it is just hanging breaking balls, careless mistakes, fastballs right down the plate that are straight as an arrow. He has kind of like that Gleyber Torres symptom or syndrome where he doesn't really focus in the toughest of spots, right? He has a lot of emotion and, he's got good stuff, but the focus just isn't always there. We got a call about him.
Derek, it's Spike from New Jersey. I'm starting to get really, really sick of Carlos Rodon. His pitch count should not be 100 pitches. It should be 80 pitches. I called in last week and I said, this guy, he starts to suck around 80 pitches, and I saw you made a reel of my call, and some people were saying, no, he doesn't, it's not true. Well, look what happened today. As soon as he got to 80 pitches, started walking guys, bang, 3-run home run. The start's wasted, it goes to trash. He just needs to be held to a way tighter leash. He's not an ace. That's not who he is. He's an all-out velocity slider guy, and then he starts to suck. He just doesn't have the stamina.
Yeah, I honestly thought about that call, and I'm glad you called back in because we made a video about that. Earlier in the season, Spike had called in. It might have been after opening day, maybe his second start. And he mentioned that, why does Rodon get so tired? And I said, well, he's a max effort guy. And it's just stamina. And today, again, after 80 pitches, he wore out.
Oh, there's a fucking surprise.
And once again, home runs were the Waterloo.
Time to stop throwing these fucking meatballs.
5.48 ERA on the season for Rodon, by the way. All right, let's talk about Ben Rice and Giancarlo Stanton. Obviously, another RBI single today for Ben Rice. And, you can't move Rice to first base when Stanton comes back because Goldie has been good. And Giancarlo gets paid $27 million, so the Yankees are going to want to play him. But you can't send Ben Rice back down either because he's been so good. Assuming that he maintains his production levels. Now, if he falls off, it makes the decision easy. But if he keeps hitting, the Yankees are going to face a real dilemma. I wanted to pull up Stanton versus Rice on Statcast. And you see that Ben Rice basically is at the top of the league in almost every metric. Expected batting average, average exit velocity, even better than Stanton. When you think about Giancarlo Stanton, you think of the things that he does exceptionally well. The exit velocity, the bat speed, all of this stuff. He's always been a Statcast darling. And we know that the Yankees put a lot of emphasis and weight on a guy's metrics. But Ben Rice has been better in pretty much every metric. He's doing for the DH spot what Luis Gil did for Garrett Cole's spot last year when Garrett Cole went down. You can argue that the production that Rice has given us so far could be better than what Giancarlo would have given us to this point. Certainly the batting average, the on-base percentage. Stanton is not a 300 hitter. He's a 230 hitter at this point. Rice is not strong with strikeouts, but Giancarlo is noticeably worse. And Ben Rice walks more than Stanton. And what's interesting is Ben Rice also does it against both lefties and righties, whereas Giancarlo is much better versus lefties. So what does that mean? What does that mean when Stanton comes back? Goldschmidt's the first baseman. You can't move Rice there. Would the Yankees possibly go with a platoon at the DH spot where Stanton plays against lefties and Rice plays against righties? Will the salaries factor into things? Because Stanton makes like $27 million. Rice makes less than $1 million. I think he makes the league minimum. I don't know if the Yankees care about that as much as they care about production. But there's this old adage in baseball that you can't lose your job because of an injury. And Stanton was amazing for us in the playoffs. He won the ALCS MVP, he hit 7 home runs. It's an interesting scenario. And obviously we have to let things unfold, right? I mean, Rice could go 1 for 50, but judging by what we're seeing from the metrics, this isn't luck. He's not lucky. He is excelling. He is raking. Adam Lamparello says we're better without Stanton, but I mean, the guy carried us in the postseason, and this team struggles against lefties, and he is absolutely a murderer against lefties. He is a beast against left-handed pitching. The Yankees need him. Yankees for the win says, Boone is saying that Rodon was excellent with a critical mistake. I'm going to disagree.
Just a bit outside.
I thought his stuff was excellent, but you can't be walking guys and giving up home runs and have it be an excellent start. You have to look at the start in totality, and I hate to go back to something we've already talked about, but that's the thing about pitchers. You have to take the whole game into account because one bad pitch can sink it. It's like the Titanic was great, except for that one thing with the iceberg, right? JFK's parade through Dallas was great, phenomenal, except for one little thing. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Let's talk about the series. So, I had that Jazz is lost right now, and I wrote that before the home run. I didn't delete it because I still think, he's not really having great swing, so I'll leave that up there as a takeaway from the series. Goldie had a good series in terms of the hits. Rice continues to be on fire. Will Warren picked up a dub, first in the big leagues. But Marcus Stroman absolutely sucked and went on the IL. And, of course, Carlos Rodon, tough day today. Martian maybe heating back up. He had a double, and he had a big base hit yesterday with a couple of ribbies. Be curious to see what he does against Seth Lugo tomorrow. Seth Lugo is a guy who had dominated the Yankees during the regular season last year. I believe they played okay against him in the playoffs. I don't remember his specific numbers, but I just do remember it being better than what happened during the regular season. So that is not going to be an easy matchup. Let's talk about that series coming up with the Kansas City Royals. They were 7-8 entering today. They are now 8-8. I'll go ahead and fix that just for the benefit of the people who are watching a podcast with the sound off. Lugo, Waka, and Bubic are the pitchers this series. Bubic has gotten off to a great start. 0.84 ERA in close and late situations. So they get it done when it counts. And they have held opponents 1, 2, 3 hitters to a 186 average, which is third in Major League Baseball. So not going to be an easy matchup. This is a playoff team. This is a team that could have beaten the Yankees last year in the playoffs, if not for some heroics by Giancarlo Stanton. So we'll see over the next 3 days. Yankees do have the home field advantage, but they just lost 2 out of 3 at home to the Giants. All right, so let's go ahead and get a quick word from our sponsor today, which is Hungryroot, and then we'll be back with your takes and 1 or 2 voicemails. Hang on just a second.
Kratz, do you like spending an hour on grocery shopping?
Nope. Speed up the process, please.
Introducing Hungryroot to the FT fam.
Now we can all be bougie with our own personal shopper to handle the food shopping, including recs based on what you're looking to put in your body.
I stack my Hungryroot box with items like gluten-free, dairy-free blueberry waffles for breakfast, shrimp veggie bowls for lunch, and a little filet mignon with potatoes and broccolini for dinner.
You can also say just, hey, Hungryroot, I eat paleo, or I'm vegetarian, and they load up your cart with personalized recommendations.
And those recs keep evolving as they learn about what you're into. Also, no BS, as in no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungryroot's food. You're going to love Hungryroot as much as FT does. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/FT and use code FT. That's hungryroot.com/FT, code FT to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life.
I'm excited about the ads this week. Normally, I hate the ads other than I like getting paid for them. But we got the Harry's Razor ad, which is the reason I had to shave my face. And we're going to run that a bunch this week as they are sponsoring pretty much the entire week. We're going to do a lot of voicemail shows this week. I believe we have 9 shows scheduled this week. So keep those voicemails coming. And we got a call from Mary Beth here mid-game. Let's put her on the air here.
Hey, Derek, Mary Beth here. He just gave up, Rodon just gave up the home run, so we're down 4-3. I think Aaron's coming out to take him out. And I mentioned the other day, emotions rule. That's the bottom line. I mean, that's the bottom line. And Rodon has the stuff. But when stuff happens, he becomes emotionally uneven. He's cut down on his little temper tantrums, and he has improved, and I don't always worry when he comes to the mound. But this today is another example of going along. He always has the stuff, but his emotions, he gets tricky, and to get angry, this is all emotions. And I know it sounds, there we go. You gotta go and get your emotions control, because that's...
Yep, got to get the emotions in control. I agree. He's got to get his focus better, too. I feel like he loses focus in those big spots. Paul O'Neill brought up some great points, that he was going to his 3rd and 4th pitches against Jung-Hoo Lee. Now, I get that Lee is a good hitter, but you got to challenge him with your best stuff late in the game. Do you really expect your breaking ball on your 100th pitch or whatever to be as sharp as it was early in the game? No. Your arm is tired. It slows down. You lose that arm speed. You lose that snap of the breaking ball. That's why so many pitchers hang breaking balls later in the game. If I'm Rodon there, I'm going fastballs. I'm going fastballs in. He's got a big loopy swing. I'm going fastballs in and trying to jam him there and get a ground out to second base. If he turns on your 98-mile-an-hour fastball, so be it. Give him credit. But you can't hang a slider there. And you can't be walking people. That just infuriates me when someone defends a pitcher's day by saying, "Oh, he only gave up one or two big hits or one or two home runs, so he had a good day." No, you gave up a home run with two guys on base. Those guys getting on base, you can't let that happen. And if it does happen, you got to buckle down. It's mentality. He doesn't have the right mentality. Anyway, Stephanie McAllister says bum of the day, no contest. We didn't do a bum of the day today, but maybe we'll consider it for tomorrow. Bum of the morning if I'm still in a bad mood. But anyway, Bobby says Jazz needs an Adderall. Rodon needs a Xanax. I like that. Anyway, it's been a tough series. Obviously lost 2 out of 3, but the Giants are a good team. I think they were probably the favorites to win 2 out of 3. Yankees should win 2 out of 3 versus the Kansas City Royals. We're getting Clark Schmidt back on Wednesday. That'll be nice. That'll be must-watch baseball. We got Max Fried going on Tuesday, and he was fantastic last time out. It'd be interesting to see what the hangover on that is like. He threw, I believe, 97 pitches last time, but it was cold weather. He had to exert a lot of stress. Wouldn't shock me if he takes a little bit of a step back. I don't expect him to be quite as dominant, but I do think he'll be tough on the Royals. The one that concerns me is Monday. Carrasco versus Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo's always tough on us, and Carrasco, like Carlos Rodon, a goddamn meatball factory. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Hey, while I've got you here, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Pinstripe Territory is the official Yankees podcast of the Foul Territory Network. We are home to the #1 most watched MLB postgame show on YouTube since 2021. We're here after every Yankees game and for reactions to all the best news and rumors during the offseason. Be a part of the show by calling into the voicemail 718-899-1068. Try to keep it clean for me. And if you ever miss us on YouTube, be sure and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Go ahead and rate us 5 stars. It'll help other people find the show. Thanks for watching. See ya.